Hello, everybody. So I just want to speak to you briefly about stabilized realizations. And in other words, something where it's a constant in the normal life too, if you will. And those that come and go, where the extraordinary ordinary has been glimpsed and or it has been seen. I mean, sometimes for 2 hours, 2 months, 2 years. For a long time, great, a lot of duration. But at any rate, it then collapses. And the next thing we know, we're back in the soup. I've worked with people who've been awake 6, 8, 10 years. And then boom, suddenly they got to believe in thought again, and they were out of it. And they were back in experienced separation. There's no separation, but they were experiencing separation again, because you'll find what you believe, right? And it really completely changes your worldview. So, what awakening is. And we speak awakening, of course, everybody's already awake. No one needs to wake up because you are awakeness itself, but you may not be recognizing that through that unit, this truth through that unit over there. And you are recognizing it through this one, and thus we have this conversation. So what awakening really is it's an opportunity. It's not a guarantee. It's an opportunity for abidance, for what will look like a long time and be experienced by the unit as a long time. But what is actually awake, it has no experience of time, other than what this unit has experience of time. And I guess awakeness is, it's too much to say that it's monitoring anything, but whatever, it's awakeness knows. Yeah. So awakeness knows what it is, but it may not care to know what it is right now. Now that's personifying that awakeness a bit, which is not fair. But I can't really, if I'm going to speak of it, I got to be able to talk about these things. So do you. So and frankly, around Betsy, and she does too. We just had a conversation in the living room where she said, "Well, it's tired." She's talking about the body, right? And there can be anything can occur through these units. There can be anger. There can be passion. Certainly, there can be. There's always love. If awakeness is present, and that's not that awakeness can't not be present, but if conscious awakeness is present, then there will always be the experience of love. But it's not a guarantee, because it looks like, to friends of mine, that this unit has been continuously awake for 16 years next month. And that's just not true. That's not the experience here at all. The experience here is that I'm awake to this moment. And it's the only moment that counts. It's the only moment that really is. And I am awake to this moment. And that's not talking from a Fred Davis. There's no Fred Davis. So there's no Fred Davis to have a glimpse or to wake up or to, fail to wake up or anything like that. There's just no one there. There's the lights are on, meaning, the lights are on because the eyes are alive and the mouth is smiling, but there's nobody in here. It looks like there's somebody in here, but what there's in here is an animating presence. And it's using that animating presence to look and smile at itself. That's who I'm talking to. I'm talking to myself. There's just one thing going on, and you're it. And so am I. And really, so is this Buddha, although there's not probably a lot of awareness going on there, but I don't want to say that it's a dead thing, because these are dead things. There's just an animating presence. And is there still some sort of, I don't know. I can't speak about that, which I don't know. I can say it certainly doesn't look like it, but sometimes I have to tell you, it does feel like it. It really does. It's not all that uncommon. And that may probably, I'm just feeling what I projected, but who knows? Who knows anything? The that Buddha may have been around so much alert consciousness in its this span of the statue, which is God only knows, whether it's 100 years, 300 years, I don't know. However old it is, it may have been around so much that who knows? It could be a tuning fork or something. I mean, something akin to that. That's neither here nor there. What we want to notice is that I have the opportunity, and when I say I'm speaking of awakeness, I'm not speaking of Fred Davis. So I, awakeness, have the opportunity to know my true nature right now. That's the opportunity of awakening, is you get that opportunity. Prior to awakening, you just don't have that opportunity, which, we always want to note exceptions to any, there are no rules here. So I don't want to say they're exceptions to the rule, but I will say they are exceptions to the common experience over here. But I certainly have clients, a number of them, who just, they just wake up, and they had no prep for it. They had no longing for it. When I say no prep, I mean, who knows what the DNA has been through, but there's no apparent prep. So, but this opportunity is for right now, and it may be accepted right now. But there can't be a permanent awakening over here, because there's nothing over here that is permanent to have a permanent awakening. There is the animating presence over here, which is just, it's never still, right? I mean, it's stillness itself, but all activity is coming from it. So it's not, it in itself is not moving, but this is, right? It's not stable. So this now is just never the same, 2 moments, right? There's now, and then there's now. And the two are just not, the two are not connected as much as you might think, put it that way. So the opportunity means, are you going to pursue the luck? I don't like to call it grace, simply because grace sounds like, well, it was special for somebody, but somebody caught a break because they were just good, and they were doing all these things, and they were, or they had purified the body or whatever. I don't know nothing about all that stuff. What I can see is that sometimes units are lucky and they wake up. And although I had been trying to wake up for a quarter century, almost 24 years, I think, or nearly a quarter. Well, I hadn't been trying to wake up all that time. That's just a lie. It's not an intentional lie, but it's not true. I felt pulls when I was in my teens, in my 20s, I felt pulls, but I was a poet, and that's where the magic was taking place, and that was the focus. And then in my 40s, I felt no pull for anything but booze. And then in my late 40s, there was a pull towards sobriety, and I wasn't in sobriety anytime at all. Because I had been pursuing spirituality even in my drunken days. A drunk can still read a book and can still meditate and do anything they want. May not be as effective as if they were stable, but don't think that it's wasted, because everything that's done, it has to be done. There can be no waste at all. And the horrors of this life prior to awakening now act as motivation to stay alert, because they're mental horrors. They were never physical horrors. All horror is mental. You look upon a field, like a field of death, like in a war, and or in a parking lot where some crazy guy's been shooting people, and and what you're looking at there is not horror. The horror is here. What you're looking at is units that are no longer moving. And but that's not what I would tell anybody if I was there. But that would not be untrue. It may not be completely true, because this unit that's not moving anymore used to move and be in special ways that made it particularly special to other people. But you'd be looking at units that are no longer moving. And if we go over to a war and we got a lot of battle and everything, that's not horror either. What you're looking is that we're looking at a bunch of units and they're moving until they're not. Most of them keep moving, but ping, 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 they stop moving. And that sounds so cavalier, so cold, and it's not. It really isn't. It's just what is. And and it doesn't need your approval or mine. It is. Well, what about what should be? There's no what should be. There's this is it. And awakeness is the opportunity to inhabit this here now. Now, will you take that opportunity? Because you know that you can wake up. There are many, I guess there are many ways, I don't know, but I do know one way. You can have an awakening session with me, and you almost guarantee, it's not a guarantee, but most people do wake up with me by a large percentage. Some don't. And that's a pity, but that's also what is. It looks like, from the client's point of view, that'd be a failed awakening session, I guess. But honestly, from my point of view, it's not. There's no failure or success. There's just what is. The client wakes up or they don't. And my attitude is that thank God I didn't wake them up, because they weren't supposed to wake up. How do we know they didn't? So I didn't do anything wrong. It's my job to present the teaching that's been presented to me or has landed here would be a more truthful statement. The teaching that has landed here, it's my job to present it in the clearest possible way that I can. And that's what I do with these videos. That's what I do with my books. That's what I do on awakeningclaritynow.com. And I've been doing this for a long time. So there's a great body of work out there just from here. There's multiply that find the authentic teachers, and that'll thin out the crowd a good bit. But there are other authentic teachers out there. There are other people that are doing real good. And God bless them, and God bless you. And thank you for joining me. I'll see you later. Come to satsang, for God's sake, come to satsang. This last satsang, here we go. But just this past Sunday, my satsangers will know that this is true because they witnessed it, and they're watching this recording. So a guy came, and he was somebody that had a failed awakening session in his eyes. I had seen it tape, but he had not seen it tape. And because he just couldn't tell himself the truth, which is the fact that there was no Bob, right? That just couldn't be seen. And that there's only this. This had to be appearing to somebody, for some, whatever. One way or the other, I can't describe it well, I'm sure, because I can't really put myself in that frame of mind. But he did not wake up, and it was not a pleasant awakening session because he was just so dogged. He could see some, and then he goes, you wouldn't see the rest at all. And it was unpleasant for him, I'm sure, and it was unpleasant for me. And he said, his opening line in satsang was, Fred, I am happy, or basically I'm happy and honored to be here. He used the word honored. And I was stunned because, and so was Betsy. She was there, and she had heard most of that awakening session. She'd heard all she wanted to, I imagine. And then he proceeded to talk about his awakening. He did have the awakening. It was not that moment, but he had one a little later. And he said the first thing he thought of when he woke up was this, was me, was the Fred unit and this teaching, right? And where did he go afterward? He came back to this teaching for the sake of clarity. So, and what he told us is, he said, Fred, I knew this was already true. I already knew it, but it was wonderful to hear him say it. And he said, Fred, I have to tell you, I really felt like you were gaslighting me, right? That you weren't really telling me the truth. You were telling me something and calling it the truth. And then he said, I woke up and I went, oh my God, he really was doing his very best to bring attention to what is. And because there's no one who wakes up, but there will be a change of attention, so to speak. What wakes up is awakeness, and you can't imagine that until you do wake up, but that's the truth. So at any rate, this guy thought I was a con. You know, I've been doing pretty well for the last 10 years on the internet. Come to satsang, find out for yourself. Just come to satsang first and find out, see what you think. Maybe the crowd that you're interested in, may not. You know, it's $25 to find out, and then it gets cheaper if you decide you want to attend regularly. See you later. Bye-bye.